HIV AIDS and substance abuse. It must be admitted that in a short discussion like this, only a few basic facts can be presented. It is hoped that this discussion will enable you to think about growing menace of substance abuse and its various implications on the society. Also, it will further show how substance abuse is one of the contributory factors for the spread of HIV/AIDS. Following questions must be considered. Are drug addicts more prone to acquiring HIV? If yes, how is drug addiction one of the causes for acquiring HIV? Are there any statistical data available to show the connection between substance abuse and HIV? Substance abuse and its effects. Before looking at the connection between HIV/AIDS and substance abuse, it is good to know something about substance abuse. The very term substance abuse means using a substance or a chemical in an improper way or using a chemical in a wrong way. A substance is, as it is used in the term, substance abuse is a chemical or a drug that is used for the purpose of mood altering or intoxication. Some of these substances may have medicinal values when used under prescription by a physician. When they are used for the purpose of getting mood alteration, it is called substance abuse. Most of these substances are addictive by nature. According to the definition of WHO, a person becomes an addict when he has the compulsive desire to continue to take the drug. Second, he is willing to get it by any method. Third, he increases the dose in such a way that he becomes psychologically and physically dependent on its effects. If the physical or mental faculties or both are affected due to taking the drug, the person may be termed as an addict. It must be noted that all those who take drugs do not become addicts, but anyone who abuses drugs can be called a substance abuser. Health hazard. Addiction leads to many health hazards. It spoils the physical health and mental health of a person, and some of the damages are irreversible. Many abused drugs can cause instantaneous death if they are consumed in excess. In the same way, the withdrawal symptoms when some of the drugs are stopped are equally horrible and painful. For example, a heroin addict who stops taking the drug, he will have unbearable sweat, feel cold, and have painful twitches and muscular spasm. An overdose of cocaine may cause undue anxiety and panic, resulting in an extreme state of agitation, which causes hallucination. Addiction to cocaine will cause nervousness and insomnia, that is, sleeplessness, and a mental state similar to paranoid psychosis. The use of stimulants like amphetamine produces delirium, panic, and hallucination, and also experience panic and restlessness, and can get respiratory diseases such as bronchitis. LSD may cause an unprecedented depression, even giving rise to suicidal tendency. Alcohol consumption leads to accidental caused by double vision, lack of coordination of movements and reflexes, and impaired judgment. It causes many physical and neuropsychiatric disorders. Economic crisis. It is also known fact that a substance abuser pays heavily for this habit. Addiction drains one's finances and leads to untold miseries in families. It interferes with the tranquility of family life. Very often, addiction is the major cause of domestic violence. Crime. It also serves as one of the causes for crime. An addict loses respect in society and is usually found to be dishonest in dealing with money. Street children involved in substance abuse often have an untimely death due to lack of care and treatment. Stealing, selling, borrowing, and pawning are some of the ways in which an addict raises money to get the drugs. Addiction leads to loss of manpower and is also the cause behind many industrial and road accidents. Intravenous drug taking is one of the major causes for the spread of human immunodeficiency virus and hepatitis B or C virus. HIV/AIDS was detected in heroin drug abuser in West Jersey, USA in 1982. Vulnerability of substance abusers. How are substance abusers more vulnerable to getting infected by HIV? Having multiple partners, transfusion of infected blood, and use of unsterilized needles have close association with substance abuse. In order to understand this, one should know something about the life of an addict, how a substance abuser makes money, and the difference between the ways of taking drugs. Have you ever come across one of the person who takes hardcore drugs? Do you know the different kinds of substances abused by people? Have you ever thought of how these substances abusers get money to sustain this habit? Knowledge of all these is necessary to understand the connection between substance abuse and the spread of HIV/AIDS. It is a known fact that the incidence of HIV infection is higher among substance abusers. For example, HIV infection is a greater problem among those who inject drugs. In fact, this is the case with substance abusers all over the world. The section below will explain the link between substance abuse and HIV infection. Different kinds of drugs. Substance can be seen in different categories: gateway drugs, legal drugs, illegal drugs, or hardcore drugs. Gateway drugs. These are the drugs, those that initiate a person into the world of drugs. Cigarette, cigar, and various preparations of tobacco meant for chewing, and the gutkhas, now very popular with the students and youth, are example of this. A person who takes gateway drugs is more prone to slipping into the world of drugs. Legal drugs. Legal drugs are those who are allowed to be sold in the market. Very often it is the government which serves as the seller or distributor, and it has control over the sale and distribution. As it is sold with the knowledge of the government has various methods of regulating the distribution through licensing, imposing heavy taxes, restricting timings of sale, and taking legal action on those who do not follow regulations. In India, alcohol and narcotics are controlled in this way. Illegal or hardcore drugs. Hardcore drugs or illegal drugs are those substances prohibited by the law. The government machinery can take legal action like imprisonment, imposing fine, etc. on those who possess, distribute, or consume it. Substances like cannabis, opium, brown sugar, and cocaine belong to this category. There are many who abuse substances or drugs that are available in the form of tablets, liquids, and injections in medicinal shops. Classification of drugs based on their pharmacological actions. Various types of drugs of addiction are available to the youth. Some are addicted to many drugs, whereas some are addicted to one drug. The commonly abused drug may be categorized as depressants. Depressants are those drugs which tend to depress the central nervous system. Though popular belief is that alcohol provokes a person, it in fact comes under this category. Barbiturates, methaqualone, and benzodiazepines and tranquilizers like Valium and Calmpose are depressants. Stimulants. Stimulants are those drugs which tend to stimulate the central nervous system. They temporarily enhance wakefulness, stimulate the mood, and even make one forget fatigue. Amphetamines, which some use to keep themselves awake, belong to this category. Hallucinogens. Hallucinogens distort the perception, and the users may feel confused and disoriented. The experience of one who takes hallucinogens may vary from visions of joy and splendor to unbearable waking nightmares. LSD is a popular hallucinogen as LSD interferes with perception. There is a higher incidence of accidents due to wrong judgments. There is also high risk to life as a slight overdose can cause instantaneous death. Narcotics. Narcotics are used to suppress pain, but they are abused to alter moods. Most of the abused drugs are derivatives from the narcotic substances in three plants, namely poppy, coca, and cannabis. Drugs derived from poppy plant are known as opiates. Opium, which is the dried milk of poppy, contains morphine and codeine. Various synthetic opiates are used as painkillers. Pethidine, a synthetic opiate, is commonly abused drug. Heroin, a white crystalline powder, bitter in taste, is an opium derivative. Regular users have health problems as it affects food intake. Brown sugar, which is a crude form of heroin, is a very commonly misused illegal drug in India. it is a dangerous drug as it has highly addictive properties. Cocaine, which was not known to the Indian youth until the early 90s, is now available in Indian cities. Various derivatives of the plant cannabis are popular drug among the Indian youth. Compared with the price of other illegal drugs, the various forms of cannabis, hashish, bhang, ganja and marijuana are available at affordable prices. You should be aware that due to various reasons, a youth who come into contact with drugs and tries it once out of curiosity may continue to take it and become a confirmed addict in due course. The different methods of drug intake. There are many ways in which the drug abusers consume drugs or substances. The most common way is oral intake, that is drinking or swallowing. Alcohol is usually drunk and opium is swallowed. Smoking is another way of taking drugs. For example, cannabis or ganja is usually smoked. Drugs like heroin and cocaine are sniffed. This is called inhalation. Another method of intaking is to inject the drug into the blood, especially into the veins, intravenous. Drug injection is the method that has a close link with the spread of HIV AIDS. This will be discussed later. Types of drugs and how they are taken. Narcotics. It includes opium, morphine, codeine and heroin. Mostly are taken oral except heroin, which is injected, smoked or snorted, and it could be taken orally as well. Depressants include barbiturates, methaqualone, benzodiazepine and alcohol. All can be taken orally, and barbiturates, methaqualone and benzodiazepines could be injected also. Stimulants include cocaine. It is snorted or orally taken and sometimes smoked or injected. Amphetamines, it could be taken orally or injected. Hallucinogens include LSD, mescaline and phencyclidine. All could be taken orally. Phencyclidine could be taken through intravenous or smoked. Cannabis includes ganja, hashish and marijuana. These are smoked or could be taken orally. Life of an addict. As now we have an idea about the type of substances, the different drug of abuse and the different method of intake. But to understand how a substance abuser is more prone to contracting HIV AIDS, we should know something about the life of an addict. Probably, you have never seen a hardcore addict. In the Indian social context, it may not be possible for many to see a hardcore drug abuser injecting a drug. Some of you may not be even aware of this method. Here, our main aim is to understand the life and behavior of an addict. It is good to know the names of the above addictive substances. Some of these are easily available. Some of these substances are very expensive. Some substances are so addictive that an addict finds it almost impossible to survive without it. The withdrawal symptoms are so severe that a drug addict dreads it, as there is a compulsive desire, and as an addict is physically and psychologically dependent on the substance, he usually tries to raise money to buy his drugs at any cost. Have you ever thought how an addict manages to get money when all his attempts to raise money to buy a drug fails? An addict usually begs, borrows, steals, tells lies, cheats to get money to keep his habit going. Probably some of us might have had the experience of encountering an addict trying to extract money from us under some pretext. It will be worthwhile exercise to closely watch the life of an addict and observe his fundraising enterprise. When all other doors are closed, he embarks on selling spree. He starts selling whatever he can lay hand on: vessels, watch, furniture and jewelry. And if a student, even his textbooks. What more clothes he have to sell? Two easily available factors with an addict are his or her blood and body. This is how substance abuse is closely linked with professional blood donation and prostitution. Injecting drugs and HIV AIDS. We discussed the various ways in which drugs are usually taken. Do you remember them? Oral intake, drinking, chewing and swallowing, smoking, injecting and sniffing or snorting are the ways in which drugs are taken. Of these, injecting the drug has a very close link with the spread of HIV/AIDS. A question that you may raise is, why do some people go for injecting drugs? It is the hardcore drugs that are used for injecting. There are three ways in which drugs are injected. Some inject it under the skin popping, while some go for intramuscular injection, injecting deep into the muscle, intravenous intake, that is, mainlining, or injecting directly into the vein in the third method of injecting. Morphine, codeine, heroin, methadone, methaqualone, tranquilizers like benzodiazepines, cocaine and amphetamines, etc. are the drugs that are usually injected. People indulge in injecting drug for different kinds of experiences with substances, but little do the drug abusers realize the risk involved in injecting drugs. As you are aware, usually substance abusers take drugs in company. When people sit in a group and take drugs, usually the same needle is used to prick different persons. In the previous section, we saw that drug addicts are more prone to contract HIV/AIDS either because of their multi-partner behavior or because of the close link between prostitution and substance abuse. Now, in a group of substance abusers using the method of injecting the drug, if one person is HIV positive, the other members of the group who share the same needle are at a greater risk of getting HIV. Remember, even if the drug abusers are aware of the risk involved in sharing the needle, they won't have the patience to sterilize the needle every time or change it, as substance abusers are usually in a desperate hurry to inject the drug. In states which are bordering neighboring countries, the HIV prevalence rate is very high among substance abusers who inject drugs. A case study presented in the book Broadening the Front and NGO Responses to HIV/AIDS in India is worth presenting here, as it shows the close link between the substance abuse and HIV/AIDS. Case study. A few years ago, Abdul and I used to live together, and we should share our money to buy drugs. Then Abdul went to stay at an organization called Sahara and had an HIV test done, which turned out to be positive. I was worried about myself because I had shared equipments with Abdul. I also went to Sahara for advice. A counselor took me to a nearby tea shop and I told him I wanted to get the HIV test done. I decided that I would join Sahara for rehabilitation if my result was negative, but it was positive. I would keep on injecting because I did not care about my future. The counselor explained why sharing injecting equipment is risky and what one can do to make it safe, like cleaning the needle with household bleach. I said I would rather use the money on heroin. A couple of days later, the counselor took me to a clinic for the test. We had to wait for an hour and a half to have my blood taken. It was very hard for me because the social worker there knew me and kept asking me personal questions until the counselor asked him to leave me alone. It took almost 2 weeks to get my test result. The counselor from Sahara took me to a quiet place and told me that I had tested positive. I thought I had AIDS, but the counselor told me that I would not fall sick with AIDS for a long time if I led a healthy life. I asked him if I could change my blood if I stopped using drugs. But the counselor told me that I didn't get the virus through heroin but through another person's blood. I decided to come and live at Sahara, and Abdul and I now share one room. A few days ago, I met another old friend, Salman. He's a drug user and he's shared equipment with me. I started thinking about the members of our group, Samir and Mohammed. They have also shared equipment with Abdul and me. But how can I tell them that we are HIV positive? Motivating the youth for prevention. The youth should be motivated to keep off drugs. Conscientization awareness programs using the media, including lessons on the evils of substance abuse, are some of the ways through which we can motivate the youth. The youth should be equipped in such a way that they will never experiment with drugs and they will boldly say no to drugs. Enacting and implementing laws. Strict laws and severe punishments may deter a person to some extent from becoming an addict. In India, drug trading is a serious offense, and strict vigil and implementation of the laws will prevent drug trade to a very great extent. Conscientization programs, as suggested above, along with implementing the law, will go a good job in supply and demand reduction. Health care to substance abusers. Care should be given to substance abusers in such a way that neither do they get HIV/AIDS nor are they allowed to infect others. When supply and demand reduction tactics fail, in some parts of India and also in Western world, methods like needle exchange are adopted. Here we have tried to study what substance abuse is and its connections with the spread of HIV/AIDS. We also looked at the different ways in which they are taken. We also looked at the life of an addict and discussed the link between injecting drugs and HIV/AIDS. An attempt was also made to suggest ways by which we can fight against substance abuse with a view to contain the spread of HIV/AIDS.